don't let perfect be the enemy of good. That's something that people say when they're about to, or they're thinking about doing some really heinous shit. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Obviously today, we're talking about the big elephant in the room, cilantro. It's important. It affects everybody. But before we get into that, there is a certain pressing matter that I think I need to address, and a lot of people have asked me about this, and that's why I'm taking this opportunity to unfold to you my tale, and what I'm about to talk about. I don't have. First, I want to say I have no direct evidence. I have no confirmation. What I believe is happening, I think my maid is overwatering my plants. As I said, no direct evidence. I am considering seriously hiring a private investigator to see. Now, some people have said, why don't I just ask her, are you overwatering the plants? Or, because I like to do the watering. They're my plants. I mean, I feel a certain responsibility towards these lives that I've brought into my home. Why don't I just ask her? Why don't I just confront her and say, look, how often are you watering the plants? Because I think it's a little much. Some of the leaves are starting to turn yellow. The problem is, I am a passive-aggressive monster. And so I'm just inherently, congenitally unable to withstand basically any confrontation. Anyway, that's the big thing that's going on in my life now, and I don't know where this thing is headed. I don't know where it's going. Well, let's talk about cilantro. That's the big issue of the day. Some people love it, some people hate it. Let's get that out in the open right now. For me, I adore it. I think it's fantastic. It lends a freshness, a vegetal freshness, a bright green vegetal freshness to almost any dish. But I cannot imagine tacos al carbone without cilantro. I just can't do it. And yet, for some people, it tastes like soap. They get it in their mouth, and to them, it tastes like a mouthful of Dawn dishwashing liquid. What a terrifying experience that would be. You're with your friends, you're with your family, maybe it's a birthday. You go to your favorite Mexican restaurant or Tex-Mex restaurant, whatever you want to call it. Look, I'm not hiding the fact that I'm bald. As so many people have intimated, which is a total, absolute fabrication, as I'm proving now. Just the room is drafty, so I have to protect my head. Look, apparently there's some genetic component to this difference. It's a genetic variation. Some people don't experience this soapy taste when they eat cilantro, but many people do. And we have to accept that. We don't need to be tyrannical about people's cilantro consumption. We don't need to force our views on other people. That's ridiculous. What business is it of ours if some people don't want to enjoy this, frankly, outstanding herb? I mean, it beats the hell out of me. We have to live in peace. Look, some of us are conservative. Some of us are liberal. Whatever. Let's just learn to love. Okay? If you want cilantro, sprinkle it on every dish. If it's soapy to you, forget about it. Maybe try something else. Maybe try chives. Or you could get some endive and just, cut it up finely and sprinkle that. I don't know. That's up to you. That's up to you. I don't know how President Trump feels about cilantro. Although, I imagine if he were to comment on cilantro, he would do so in hyperbolic terms. Who knows? I think that's how it would go down. But I don't know. Well, the whole thing is just barely comprehensible. Barely comprehensible. Now, how does cilantro fit into the incredibly complex political situation we find ourselves in now? In which we now find ourselves, if you don't want to end a sentence with a preposition. For goodness sakes, let's not do that. Let's not upset the grammatical apple cart here. Which, by the way, even when we consider grammar, what do we have? We have prescriptivist grammarians and descriptivist grammarians. I'm in the descriptivist camp. I say, generally language works. People make their language work. Communication is just essential to basically everything we do. Except for navel gazing. That's a term you don't hear too much anymore. Navel gazing. There must be a reason for that. Is it connected to cilantro? It must be in some way. Look, scientists say, and we, you can believe it or not, but scientists say, and there's a lot of evidence for this. There's a lot of hard scientific evidence for this. Every human on Earth, pardon me, every human on Earth is 60th cousin at most, at least. Not at most, at least. We're all related. We are all cousins, essentially, except for our families. Our close families. In that case, you've got your mothers, you've got your fathers, you've got your gendered siblings. Some of them will be male. Some of them will be female. Some of them will be non-binary. Some of them just don't give a shit. And they'll wear culottes. If you want to wear culottes, like, one of my favorite writers, Dave Sedaris, likes to wear culottes. Who the hell am I to demand that somebody wear pants or wear a tasteful summer skirt to join me for a Tex-Mex meal? It's ridiculous. It's crazy. And that's not the America I grew up in. It's not the America I believe in. Now, speaking of Fox News, well, you know what? Let's just take a look at the headlines. Let's see what they're saying. Oh, somebody's alarm is going off, which means someone is going to have to go to work pretty soon, which means someone is going to have to drive them. So I have to cut this short. But I want to talk about, I want to talk about this whole big story on Fox right now, which is, about Assistant Attorney General, or Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, who is a person. Apparently, this new story on Fox. Well, this story everywhere, but Fox has their spin, their interpretation, which means lies. But what they're saying is Rod Rosenstein was talking about wearing a wire when he talked to the president. Right? Makes sense. I mean, again, big elephant in the room, but let's admit it. Pretty much everything the president says is a full-on prevarication. A lot of people, apparently, when they talk to him, make surreptitious recordings of the conversations. Do people do that with me? I don't know. I don't think so. I myself do not make surreptitious recordings of conversations that I have with anybody. I just don't do it. It's a policy. And again, what does it have to do with cilantro? That's a sort of an epistemological query. The interconnectedness of things. For example, if a tree falls in the woods and there's nobody there to hear it, does it make a sound? If Fox News puts out completely absurd story filled with fascistic partisan lies and nobody reads it, are they lies? See, this is where cilantro begins to come into the equation. Look, did Rosenstein joke about wearing a wire? Maybe. Yeah, maybe he did. Did he write a letter vilifying former FBI Director James Comey? He did. It's public record. He did, and he's admitted it. But now he's saying, excuse me, now he's saying, what? He's saying, hey, you know what, this is just not true, and maybe he feels duped. How you could be duped by President Trump is just, it beggars belief that an intelligent human could be duped by someone whose intellect, reportedly, by his own closest advisors, is equivalent to a 5th or 6th grader. Terribly unfair, by the way, to 5th and 6th graders, who, by and large, are pretty thoughtful and caring people, individually, not in groups. In groups, kids are awful. Well, not just kids, everybody. Everybody's awful in groups. It's the mob mentality. Well, I'll just read a little bit of this. Not a lot. I'll just read a tiny little bit of this. Rosenstein reportedly. All right, this is Fox News. Rosenstein reportedly discussed wearing wire and invoking the 25th Amendment against Trump. The 25th Amendment, sure. That's The Trump administration was rocked Friday afternoon by a bombshell report saying Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein last year suggested secretly recording President Trump to expose chaos in the White House and enlisting cabinet members to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove him from office. What an that's my Rudy Giuliani. Think about it. What an incredible period in which we find ourselves living. It's really something. It's really something. I hope you don't mind, but I wrote a song. I wrote a short song, fairly simple song, about my feelings about cilantro. Not everybody's going to share these feelings, and that's okay, because we're all, what the heck, we're all individuals. When it comes right down to it, there's no space that can be occupied at the same time by two things, right? What is that? The exclusion principle, something like that. I mean, we can talk about those things. We could talk about the Fermi paradox. Isn't G nice? That's a lovely chord. All right. Let me get my pick here. I don't have the pick that I like. I like a flimsy pick because I like a soft sound. I'm a soft guy. Cilantro, you make me happy, but for some you taste like soap. I love you on my tacos al carbon, but some people just say nope. To finish, I just want to say this, and it's an appeal. It's a genuine appeal to everybody out there, to anybody listening, to anybody who cares. Give cilantro a chance. If you don't, just personal opinion, if you don't, you're really missing out on something great. And I wouldn't want that to happen to you.